Have you ever lost your job over a phone app? What about someone else's app? A recent federal employee lost her job because of her husband's app. But is this about ethics or was it a political hit job? Caroline, a Department of Justice official, was fired after her husband's app, Ice Block, sparked controversy. She was a forensic accountant in the Department of Justice. Suddenly, she's fired. And it's because of her husband, Joshua. He decides earlier this year to make an app. It is called Ice Block. And the purpose of this app is to report sightings of ICE raids. So if you see immigration conducting a raid, arresting somebody on the street, you press the button. It's a free app, downloaded over 1 million times. And it's because of that, her agency got rid of her. The Trump administration calls the app a threat to law enforcement. This is because it can be used to assist people to inflict violence on ICE officials. You know exactly where they're at. You look on your phone, you're like, okay, let's plan something. Or you can evade them. You can undermine their law enforcement activities. Now, Caroline, she works at a small unit uncovering fraud when it comes to bankruptcies. So she received an email on Friday with no warning, no heads up. It just said, plain as English, you're out. You're gone. Pack your bags. The DOJ cited her lack of candor about her ties to Ice Block, claiming she holds a sizable interest in All You Chart Incorporated. That's the company behind the app. But as of right now, it doesn't look like they're generating any revenue. And she's a minority shareholder, not for the purposes of profit, just to have ownership in the company for whatever reason that they might. Maybe they start generating a profit, but for right now, they're not. If you look at the public information on the app's company, you can see that this company is called All You Chart. It was set up in 2022, so it's 3 years before Trump. It's likely the goal of the company was not this Ice Block app. It was probably something else. And we see at the bottom that Josh is listed as the director and president. So why the swift firing? Caroline says it was retribution. I was fired because of the actions or activism of my husband. Now, the real spark came from Laura Loomer over there on X.com. She put out a post that got a lot of buzz. The post basically said, Caroline was married to Joshua, along with pictures of the app and the couple, urging the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to fire her. Shortly after that, she was out. And the administration, they're saying that this paints a target on the back of the ICE officials, noting a 500% increase in assaults on agents in 2025. To be clear, 500% sounds like a whole lot, but last year there were 10 assaults. This year there were 80 assaults. So the number of assaults increased by 70. Even though you see the number 500%, a lot of people get that sticker shock and they're like, oh my God, what is happening around here? But yes, it increased by 70. 70 assaults. Now, one assault is too much, right? We don't want anyone to be assaulted out on the streets, but it happens. Is it because of the app? Maybe, partly, but I'm willing to wager that it's largely because ICE is more active. ICE is seen out in public more. They're making more arrests. And when they put themselves in this type of situation, when they're out there and they're dealing with this level of contention, then yes, the assault rate will naturally go up. Caroline said she was proactive about all of this. So here's what happened, right? So Joshua goes out there, he gets on CNN, and he does an interview on CNN, which is a no-go. You don't do that. Because as soon as he did that, the death threats were coming in. A lot of them, threatening their lives. Not just Joshua, but his wife as well. So Caroline goes to her supervisor and says, hey, listen, because, partly it's out of fear. Hey, listen, I'm getting death threats at this point because my husband owns this app. So she kind of spilt the beans in the office. They did an investigation. Their investigation, it was quick. And that's when that email came shortly after that. I think it was a week. It wasn't too much longer than a week. The email hit and she was out. So what DOJ is pointing the finger at is the fact that she owned shares. That's the big thing. So this was a lack of candor, allegedly, and it violated ethical rules, allegedly. So, she was transparent, but she wasn't transparent enough. Ethic rules are pretty clear. Federal workers must report financial interests that could conflict with their duties. But the thing is, at this point, there is no financial interest. Caroline's not getting any money from this endeavor. And she admits that her being a minority shareholder was more about having a safety net. If her husband was incapacitated, then she could shut down the app. Now, that sounds a little fishy to me too. Like, what do you mean? The only reason that you're there is to shut it down? Your whole purpose of being on here that doesn't sound exactly right. She also claimed that she informed her bosses about the marriage to Joshua weeks before her firing. But if you take a look at the Department of Justice, even before this incident, they were on a firing spree. They were letting all kinds of people go. So I'm sure it didn't take them long to reach that decision. Should we let another person go? Yes, absolutely. Show her the door. Her husband's activism, openly anti-Trump and pro-immigrant, made her a target. Now Caroline's considering filing a wrongful termination lawsuit because the main reason she believes she was terminated was because of her husband's political views, because of his activism. But let me tell you, this type of endeavor, when you're talking about wrongful termination, this can easily cost you tens of thousands of dollars unless you get someone to do it pro bono. If you can have some group take up your cause for free, it might be worth it. Even still, it will take years to hear a verdict. The best thing she could do right now is probably to file a whistleblower complaint. That's free. Of course, like we mentioned, this firing is not an isolated incident. Under the Trump administration this year, we've seen over 200,000 people leave the federal workforce from all the agencies, to include DOJ, EPA, HUD, and many others. We saw the daughter of the ex-FBI director James Comey fired in July for her role in Trump's prosecutions. She was also a federal employee. Then you had Joseph, the DOJ's ethics chief. He was fired without cause. And many people are worrying that these firings, they're not about performance. Instead, they're about loyalty. This year, an app like this, ICE Block, it's incredibly controversial. You know, immigration enforcement is pretty much like a lightning rod this year. So many raids have been ramped up. You've seen it on the papers. You see it through your social media feed. They're knocking down doors. They're dragging people out of cars. This is a very emotional topic. It gets a lot of people riled up. It's also one of the only areas within the federal workforce that they're actively hiring for. They want people so bad, they've revealed a $50,000 bonus for retired employees to return to the job. This is both deportation officers and special agents. You have to remember that in the big, beautiful bill, $8 billion was earmarked, was given to ICE to hire 10,000 new people. You want to know who's hiring? You want to know where the trends are? It's going to be ICE. It's going to be the Department of Homeland Security, at least for the next few years. Joshua launched ICE Block to fight back, comparing Trump's policy to Nazi purges, a comment that sent MAGA into a frenzy. That Nazi reference, that's extreme. That is a reach. But that's how he feels. And 1 million downloads later, you can see the popularity with an app like that, especially in cities like where he's from, Austin, Texas. I believe that's a sanctuary city. Many call ICE Block a leftist doxing tool, while others defend it as free speech. So looking at an app like this, it's not too terribly complex. It would be something very similar to an app that they have where you're on the highway, you're in your vehicle, and it notifies you that there could be a speed trap, or there could be a police officer, or there could be debris in the road. So it's like, it's crowdsourced information. So you, your friend, your relative, me, my cousin, we're all feeding information into the app, so we know that 2 miles down the road, there's a police officer there trying to give somebody a ticket, right? So it could be kind of seen in that same lens. What makes it worse than that, I think, is the political climate. How immigration is a huge deal because for some people, it turns their life completely upside down. All they have known is this country. And when you're ripping families apart and you're telling them to go back to their home country, that turns their life upside down. So it's a little bit, the stakes are higher than a simple traffic violation. But the technology essentially is the same. It's crowdsourced, right? So everybody's information comes in. You can get a clear understanding. For the close to 2 million federal workers, this firing, it reconfirms the vulnerability and the shaky ground. You don't have the same job stability that you had under the first Trump administration, under the Biden administration, under the Obama administration. That's not there anymore. That's gone. It's been replaced with something else. It's kind of like a blend between an earthquake and quicksand. So you're getting pulled all the way in and you're getting shooken up a bit. Nobody knows exactly what's happening, right? Now, in addition to this, there's another crazy story that I want you to hear. This one's about FEMA. There's some wild conspiracies that circle around FEMA. I had no idea until I did a deep dive and I looked at some of the stuff. It really blows you away because there's people out there that think FEMA is actually planning to do concentration camps. It sounds crazy. But if you want to know more about that, I want you to check this video out next. Stay updated by signing up to the free newsletter down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.